They told us fire was mercy. We were children of that lie. The forge sings beneath my feet as I record these words. Vox ghosts for whoever finds what's left of us. My name is Nbota, librarian of the Salamanders, bearer of the tome of ash. We are 7 in number, and tonight we sail into the Eye of Terror on a mission the chapter calls Operation Hephaestus. Our orders are simple. Retrieve the Ember Mortalis. But nothing forged by Vulkan is ever simple. The Ember's story is old, older than the Imperium, older perhaps than reason itself. Our Primarch built it in the fires beneath the mountains of old Nocturne, before the heresy turned brother against brother. It was to be a weapon of compassion, a device that could cauterize mortal wounds, transmute agony into light, a mercy flame. It vanished during the heresy, last seen aboard a forge ark swallowed by the eye. The Mechanicus called it lost, the Inquisition called it myth, the Forgefather called it unfinished work. So here we are. 7 sons of Vulkan clad in drake green ceramite, each carrying 1 shard of the Forgefather's oath. If we succeed, the Ember will return to Nocturne. If we fail, the warp will have 7 more ghosts to warm its hands on. The strike cruiser Vigil of Kesare drifts in low orbit above Nocturne's ashen moon. Through the viewing port, I watch the world's volcanoes bleed orange into the black. Their plumes look like prayers, wordless, patient, doomed to fall back as ash. Inside the ship, the air tastes of oil and salt. Everything here has been burned before. The walls, the machine spirits, the men. I feel the heat through my armor and think of home, the way the fires under Mount Deathfire hum like the breath of a sleeping god. We say that the Emperor watches through those flames, but I know better. It's Vulkan who watches, and tonight he will see whether we are still worthy of his mercy. The strategium doors open with a sigh of pressurized air. Inside, 6 brothers stand around the central hololith, its light painting our armor in shifting bands of red and green. Forgefather Hestan presides, the spear of Vulkan resting in his hand like an unspoken threat. His scars catch the light like veins of gold. When he speaks, his voice fills the chamber the way molten metal fills a mold. Slow, unstoppable. Brothers, he says, you know our purpose. We nod as one. No oaths need repeating. They were branded into us long ago. The Ember Mortalis burns still, he continues. The Mechanicus traced its heat signature to a derelict forge ark adrift in the eye. It should not burn there. Nothing burns there without worship. The warp has fed it, and it has learned to feed. The hololith shifts to show the ark, a cathedral of iron and bone, orbiting a scarlet storm. Even the machine spirit hesitates to render its details. The image blurs at the edges, like it refuses to be known. The choir, Hestan says, that is what the warp scavengers call themselves. Survivors, heretics, perhaps both. They sing to the Ember, they call it mercy. He looks at each of us in turn. We will take their song from them. Chaplain Tushan, our moral hammer, steps forward. His armor is blackened by decades of battle. Only the chapter sigil gleams, a drake biting its own tail. His voice carries the resonance of a forge bell. Mercy is for the weak who learn strength through it, he intones. We do not fear the fire. We fear what happens when it forgets to care. Karzul, our tech marine, responds through the vox built into his throat. The Ember was built to heal, he rasps. If it still performs that function, it may yet be reclaimed. Hestan's expression hardens. And if it does not, Karzul lowers his gaze. Then we extinguish it. The silence after that is heavier than any oath. We leave the strategium to the sound of recited litanies echoing through the corridors. Servitors chant in binary, sealing purity runes along the hull. The smell of incense cannot mask the tang of coolant and blood. Even our ship sweats. I pass through the armory, running my gauntlet over the blessed metal of my flamer, kindle fate. Its spirit stirs beneath my touch, eager and afraid. I whisper to it, as we all do before a descent. Burn clean, old friend. Burn true. At the hangar bay, the gunship Pyre Serpent waits, her hull painted with Promethean scripture. 7 names etched in Drake script along her side. Mine is the last. Tushan performs the blessing of ignition. 3 drops of oil on each helm, a line of soot across every brow. You will see light, brothers, he says. Do not mistake it for salvation. The Vox crackles with the Forge Father's command. Launch. The Pyre Serpent detaches from the vigil and falls into the storm. The Eye of Terror is not a place. It is a wound that refuses to close. The Geller field hums around us, thin as a prayer, while outside the warp roils in impossible colour. My psychic senses flutter at its edge like moths at a lantern. Shapes peer back. Some familiar, some new. Some whisper my name with voices I've never used. Karzul's voice cuts through the Vox hiss. Field stable, spirits compliant. For now. Tushan replies, for now is faith enough. Histan remains silent, standing in the centre of the hold. His spear is grounded against the deck. The heat radiating from it keeps frost from forming, even here, in the cold between realities. Every motion of the warp seems to bend around him, unwilling to touch the air of Vulkan's line. I close my eyes. The librarious runes within my helm shimmer as I open my mind just a fraction, listening, not to the warp, but to the embers' echo. There's a rhythm beneath the chaos, a heartbeat, slow, hungry, beautiful. It feels like home. When I open my eyes, I see the others looking at me. Something? Histan asks. It knows we're coming, I say, and it's not afraid. The jump ends with a sound like glass breaking inside the skull. We fall back into real space, or what passes for it here. Before us drifts the forge arc, a silhouette half consumed by a molten halo. Its spires are folded inward, like a giant trying to pray. Great vents bleed orange light into the void, feeding a storm of vapour that does not disperse. Tushan breathes out through the Vox. By Vulkan. Histan's reply is almost a whisper. He made beauty once, even in ruin. Karzul's Auspex whines. The hull is alive, he mutters. Heat signature fluctuating between metal and organic readings. It's breathing. Then we go in while it inhales, Histan orders. Boarding clamps ready. I glance through the viewport. The forge ark's outer hull is scarred with runes that crawl like worms under molten skin. Between them, I see faces, human maybe, fused into the metal, mouths open in silent hymn. I whisper the canticle of ash beneath my breath. The fire answers, a flicker of gold behind my eyes. We dock. The airlock opens with a hiss that sounds too much like a sigh. Histan leads. Tushan follows, Crozius raised. Karzul and I bring the rear, sensors alive, flamers whispering promise. The first breath inside smells of burnt honey and blood. The walls pulse. Somewhere deep in the arc, something sings. A low, slow tone that trembles in the lungs more than the ears. I feel it in the gene seed. The ember is calling. I end the recording here. The next entry will be taken if I still have hands. Fire guide me, fire forgive me. The airlock seals behind us with a groan that sounds almost relieved. For a moment, there's only the sound of our own breathing. 7 respirators, 7 hearts beating in unison inside 2 tons of sacred ceramite. The lumen strips on our pauldrons flicker to life, throwing thin cones of amber light down a corridor that looks more organic than engineered. Pipes twist like veins through walls that sweat molten residue. The floor flexes beneath each step, a deep, resonant thud echoing down into unseen chambers. Heat presses close, alive and attentive. It feels like standing inside a forge that's waiting for the hammer to fall. Tushan takes point. "Keep it tight," he voxcasts. "We burn if we must, but not until we see what preys in here." Hestan's voice follows, low and controlled. "Remember what the Forge Father said. Mercy before victory. We learn before we judge." I can taste the static in the air, psychic hum, faint but growing. Every motion stirs motes of light, ash particles that glow briefly, then fade, like dying fireflies. They cling to armor joints and lenses, drawn to the heat of living flesh. Khazul pauses beside a ruptured conduit, his mechadendrites fanning out like curious serpents. "Machine spirits here are fractured," he murmurs. Some still recite the Omnissiah's litany. Others, something older. "Older?" I ask. He gestures with the servo claw toward a flickering screen embedded in the wall. Its surface glows faintly, lines of text scrolling in looping script. It's not low Gothic. It's Promethean, the tongue Vulkan used when he still shaped the world with his hands. The words repeat a single phrase. "Mercy is the final forge." Tushan snorts. "Blasphemy, or prophecy," Hestan replies. We move. The corridor opens into what once was a foundry cathedral, a space vast enough to house a titan, now collapsed and warped into a labyrinth of melted gantries and ossified metal. Vast furnaces hang from the ceiling like upside-down hearts, their interiors glowing with residual heat. Chains dangle from them, swaying though there's no wind. We move single file, bolters raised, tracking arcs through the haze. Our armor sensors pick up faint movements, heat signatures that bloom and fade like breaths. Then we hear it. A song. Low, human, unbearably calm. 100 voices humming in perfect unison. No words, just a sustained tone that vibrates the plating underfoot. Tushan raises a fist. We halt. Figures emerge from the haze. Dozens, maybe more. They wear robes woven from charred cloth, their faces hidden behind masks of hammered brass, shaped to look serene. Too serene. Each holds a chain sensor, glowing with small inner flames that burn blue-white. The one in front steps forward. Its mask is shaped like a smiling child's face. "Welcome," it says, voice warm as a forge. "The flame remembers you." Hestan lowers his spear, but not far. "We come for the Ember Mortalis. We mean no blasphemy, only retrieval." The mask tilts its head. "You speak as if it were separate from you. You are already burning." Khazul's mechadendrites twitch. "Identify yourself." "We are the Ashen Choir," the figure replies. "We keep the mercy burning. We feed it what it needs. Pain, regret, memory. The fire consumes and forgives. It is what your father intended." At the mention of father, the Forge Father stiffens. "You dare speak his name?" "We don't need to," the choir answers softly. He speaks through every flame. Behind them, the song grows louder. The air thickens with heat and a scent like incense mixed with cooked blood. I reach out with my mind, just a taste, a psychic brush, and immediately regret it. It's not one consciousness that sings. It's thousands, braided together, all whispering the same plea. Let me stop hurting. Their mercy is annihilation. "Fall back," Tushan orders. "They're warped." But the Forge Father raises a hand. "No. We see what they've made." He steps forward, motion slow and deliberate, until the nearest of the choir reaches out to him. Its fingers are burned to bone, and yet it moves with tenderness. It touches his gauntlet. Steam rises where flesh meets metal. You can't save us, it says, but you can feed him. Mercy is hunger with purpose. The choir begins to sway. The song becomes a wordless litany, and somewhere deeper in the forge, the ember stirs. I feel it, a pulse, deep and patient, like the world itself taking a breath. Forge father, I whisper. I know, he says. His eyes are locked ahead. It hears us. The choir's leader gestures toward an open archway, its frame blackened by fire. Beyond it lies a stairway descending into what looks like a molten pit, the glow too bright to be natural. You came to take it, the leader says. Go, it waits for its sons. Tushan growls low. And what of you? The mask smiles. We will continue singing. Someone must. Heastan motions for us to move. If they block our return, burn them, he murmurs. The stairway leads down into living fire. Every step hums with power, as if the ship's arteries have begun to pulse again. Flame dances across the walls, not wild but deliberate, shaping forms, faces, memories. I see Nocturne, I see Vulkan, hammer raised, eyes full of mourning, and I hear words whispered through the heat. Pain is not the enemy, fear is. My knees almost buckle. Nimbota! Tushan's hand grabs my pauldron. Stay with us. I'm trying, I manage. The psychic hum is deafening now. The ember isn't just awake, it's aware. The forge father glances back at me, eyes hard but not cruel. Can you contain it? I can try, I whisper, but it's not resisting us, it's inviting. The stairway ends in a forged chamber the size of a cathedral nave, and there, suspended above a pit of molten metal, is the ember mortalis. Not a weapon. A sphere of black iron etched with runes that shift and rewrite themselves faster than thought. Streams of liquid light pour from its seams, coiling upward like smoke that remembers gravity. Every pulse releases a soft, melodic vibration. Heartbeat, breath, prayer. The light caresses the chamber walls, revealing hundreds of corpses fused into the structure, faces frozen in peace, not pain. Tushan lifts his Crozius. Throne, protect us. Heastan steps forward. Father, he breathes, voice breaking for the first time I've ever heard. What did you make? The ember pulses once and answers. The sound isn't sound, it's memory. Every one of us hears it differently. For me, it's Vulkan's voice whispering across the flames of Nocturne, saying, Mercy is the fire that forgets your name. For Tushan, it's the laughter of the recruits he couldn't save. For Heastan, it's his Primarch saying, well done. But the tone is wrong, too cold. The ember is speaking in forgiveness, and it's beautiful, too beautiful. I feel my soul being drawn forward, molecules unbinding from flesh in longing. I want to fall into that light and stop remembering anything at all. Heastan's shout breaks the trance. Form line, hold your faith. Flamers roar to life. Their blue tongues hiss against the heat, useless but defiant. The ember doesn't recoil, it simply grows brighter. And in that light, shapes move, figures of molten brass and ash rising from the pool below. Choir members, reborn, their flesh incandescent, faces calm as saints. They march toward us, not to attack, but to embrace. Mercy welcomes you, they whisper. I end this entry here. My mind trembles on the edge of the warp's flame, but I still remember my duty. We came for our father's fire. It came for our pain. And it's so very hungry. The heat is beyond measure now. No gauge can register it. No armor can entirely deny it. The air itself trembles, red and gold, rippling like water over coals. The choir advances through it, slow, reverent, their movements choreographed by something unseen. We open fire. Bolter shells blossom in mid-air, melting before they reach their targets. The detonations sound distant, like thunder in a dream. My flamer roars, streaming purifying blue across the closest figures, but the flames bend, veering sideways, drawn into the ember's radiance as though gravity itself has reversed. "Hold ranks!" Tushan bellows, voice a cracked anvil beneath his helm. "Flank them! Melters, front!" Our melters answer. The forge fills with the shriek of air torn apart by heat. A dozen choir members dissolve into clouds of steam and cinder, yet for each that falls, 2 more step forward, smiling through the vapor. They aren't fighting us. They're joining us. I feel it even through my armor. A pull, gentle, persuasive, like hands guiding a tired child toward rest. The psychic current runs through every molecule of the air. The ember's will doesn't demand. It invites. I slam mental wards into place, picturing the sigil of Nocturne, the hammer and flame entwined, breathing Vulkan's name through gritted teeth. "Stay back!" I roar into the warp, forcing my voice into the current. "You will not take us." But it's not the warp that answers. It's memory. Do you remember when you first held the torch? You said you would bring warmth, not death. You were a healer, before the wars taught you shame. The words ripple through my skull, echoing in my gene seed. I see flashes of faces, refugees, mortals, screaming as we purge them for chaos taint. I feel the weight of 1,000 justified fires. Every scream sounds like a prayer that ended unanswered. Tushan grabs my pauldron, shaking me. "And Bota, focus!" I start, then stop, because he's bleeding light from the seams of his armor. His hand glows faintly where it grips me. His voice trembles. "It's in me." He stands steps forward through the inferno, silhouette cut from the glare like a black god. The spear of Vulkan hums in his grasp, its blade glowing white-hot. "No," he says quietly. "It's testing us." The ember pulses again, and all the flames in the chamber turn inward, flowing toward it in slow spirals. It hangs in the air, rotating, runes shifting with liquid grace. A voice, not a sound but a feeling, fills the space between atoms. I am what he made to end pain. Do you suffer? Heastan lifts the spear. We do, but we endure. Endurance is cruelty by another name. Would you deny mercy to yourselves? The choir stops moving. Every mask turns toward us. Their song resumes, softer now, mournful, a lament sung by thousands who have already forgiven their killers. Heastan answers, voice low. We are Salamanders. We are mercy-made discipline. Then learn the cost of what you protect. The light erupts. I'm thrown backward, vision dissolving into white. Systems flare warnings, temperature overload, psychic surge, oxygen depletion. I hit the ground hard. My visor blacks out, then flickers back. The forge chamber is gone, or maybe it's transformed. I stand alone in a wasteland of ash. The sky glows dull red, and rivers of molten metal run like veins across the horizon. Shadows move in them, familiar, monstrous. My squad's vox channels are silent. I hear footsteps behind me. Heastan's voice, softer, younger. Bota. I turn, but it's not him. It's Vulkan. He stands barefoot in the ash, his skin cracked with light, eyes like 2 dying suns. He smiles, not the stern, fatherly smile from our statues, but something smaller, human. He reaches out. You were always my gentle sons, he says. Tell me, librarian, how many have you burned who begged you to stop? I did what I had to, I manage. He nods slowly. So did I. He kneels, picks up a handful of ash, lets it fall through his fingers. I built the ember to end pain, he murmurs, but pain never ends. It only learns to sing sweeter. Are you him? I whisper. Or are you what it became? Vulkan looks at me with infinite pity. Does it matter? The world shudders. His eyes flare. The ash around him ignites, and I hear my brothers screaming somewhere far away. The illusion snaps. I'm back in the forge. Kazul's voice bursts through the vox, distorted. The ember is interfacing with our armor. Machine spirits are praising it. It's rewriting them. Tushan stands amid a circle of burning choir corpses, Crozius blazing. Then purge the systems manually. Negative, Kazul snarls. They don't want to be purged. Histan turns to me. Can you contain it psychically? I focus, reaching toward the ember again. It's impossible to look directly at now. Its light fills every crack in reality. My mind brushes against it and recoils. There's no hatred, no rage, only compassion vast enough to drown stars. Let me help you, it whispers. You hurt so much, and you don't even remember why. I grit my teeth, forcing my will into words. If you were mercy, you would stop asking to be worshipped. I do not ask, I invite. The choir surges again, their voices breaking into dissonant harmony. Their braziers burst, flooding the chamber with white fire. It doesn't burn, it cleanses. My left vambrace glows red hot. Flesh cooks beneath. I feel no pain, only release. My memories begin to unspool, fluttering away like pages in wind. Then Histan's hand clamps onto my shoulder. Focus, he roars, dragging me back into my body. His voice cuts through the trance like a hammer strike. You are not forgiven yet. The spear of Vulkan plunges into the molten floor. A shockwave bursts outward, pure kinetic fury, shattering the choir's unity. Their song falters, the ember flickers. For a heartbeat, silence. Then, in the stillness, the Forge Father speaks, not to us, but to it. You were built to heal, not to feed, he says softly. You carry his gift, not his curse. The ember's light dims, just slightly. The temperature drops a fraction. It's listening. Tushan limps forward, armor cracked, Crozius black with soot. If it hears, make it hear this. He slams the Crozius into the floor, shouting the litany of endurance. Each word is an oath, each syllable a blow. Pain teaches, fire refines, suffering endured is proof of love. The ember shivers. Love is cruelty, it replies. Cruelty disguised as patience. The floor splits open. Molten metal spills upward, defying gravity, rising like a tidal wave of living light. Through it, shapes climb. Burning constructs of fused ceramite and bone, half machine, half soul. I recognize fragments of Astarte's armor, centuries old, melted into their forms. Salamanders, Kazul gasps, old pattern marks, lost companies. Resurrected, Histan says grimly, or damned. The constructs kneel before the ember, their eyeless faces reflecting its glow. They found peace in me, it says. You can too. Histan raises his spear. No. The constructs move. I'm moving before I realize it. Bolter barking, flamer roaring, every shot punctuated by a prayer half remembered from training halls now dust. Tushan meets them head-on, Crozius swinging arcs of molten air, each impact scattering fragments that still try to crawl back together. Kazul's servo arm lashes like a whip, decapitating one, cauterizing another. Even Histan bleeds, his voice steady as he drives the spear through a creature's heart, igniting it from within. For every one we destroy, more rise from the molten pool. But they hesitate, flicker, as if fighting their orders. I sense it. Tiny pulses of resistance inside them. Their souls are afraid. They're not all gone, I shout. There's still thought inside. Then free them, Heastan orders. I drop to my knees, palms on the burning floor, mind open, reaching not for the ember but for what's left of the Astartes trapped within. Their voices are faint, scattered, but one word repeats among them. Help. I pour my will into them, a wave of psychic fire burning backward through their chains. For a moment, the ember's light flares in confusion, then half the constructs freeze, their bodies crack, they collapse like statues struck by grief. The ember screams, not with sound, with pressure, heat, grief. The choir drops their censers, the flames go out. Heastan lifts the spear again. Now, he says quietly, now we end it. The forge trembles like a living creature dying in its sleep. Every girder groans, every plate splits at the seams as the ember's pulse deepens from song into heartbeat. The choir scatters, their serene masks cracking, smoke spilling from the fractures. The light grows blinding. It doesn't illuminate, it consumes. Heastan stands before it, spear raised but motionless. The white glare washes over him, melting the edges of his silhouette into a haze of fire. Behind him, Tushan braces against the floor, Crozius planted like a banner. Karzul's mechadendrites spark as he forces machine spirits back into obedience. And me, I can barely think. The warp pressure is unbearable now, 1,000 hands pressing against my mind, whispering my name like a lullaby. You tried to heal, the ember murmurs. Why do you fear the tool that finishes the work? I press both hands against my helm, trying to steady my breathing. Because healing shouldn't erase what was. Would you rather let the wound rot? The heat climbs again. My armor groans, ceramite plates popping as adhesives fail. I can feel the warp looking at me through the cracks. Heastan takes one step forward. I know your voice, he says. The light stills. For the first time since we entered this cursed place. Silence. Then, Heastan, it says gently. My flame-bearer, you carried my will across 10,000 years. Do you not recognize your father? The spear lowers slightly. Vulkan? The light shifts, and for a heartbeat, there he is. Vulkan. Whole. Young. Standing within the blaze, like a god returned. His features perfect in every painful detail, his hands outstretched, his voice kind and heavy with memory. Noble sons, the figure says. You've suffered enough. Let me take your pain. Tushan spits, the sound sizzling on the burning floor. Lies given form. Heastan doesn't answer. His shoulders tremble. Karzul Vox casts in a whisper. Forge Father, it's drawing directly from your gene code. It knows you. I am him, the voice insists. He burned so that you would remember the warmth, not the hurt. But you've turned fire into punishment. I would not have wanted that. I feel my defenses buckling again. The psychic truth behind the illusion is exquisite. It knows everything Vulkan ever was or wanted to be. It even carries the same patience, the same sorrow. I realize it's not faking. It believes it's him. Forge Father, I call out, forcing the words through static. It doesn't lie. It's become a perfect memory of him. A mercy without will. Heastan turns, slightly. Visor gleaming. Then he's trapped inside it. Tushan roars, swinging the Crozius up. Then free him! He charges. The floor cracks under his stride. The Crozius arcs a trail of molten sparks as he hammers it down on the apparition. The blow passes through light, and something inside it breaks. The sound is unbearable. Not pain. Loss. The forge shrieks. The air flashes white. When the glare clears, Tushan is on his knees, helm cracked open. Blood boils across his cheek. His Crozius lies beside him, half melted. The ember's voice changes, no longer calm. You would strike your father? Histan steadies himself. If he asked me to. And what would you learn by killing mercy itself? Histan lowers the spear tip until it glows inches from the sphere's surface. That mercy must obey truth. The ember pulses violently. Every rune on its shell blazes at once. The choir screams as their bodies ignite, burned out from within. The forge's structure buckles. Molten iron bursts from walls in gouts of red. Karzul's voice, ragged. It's overloading the containment lattice. If it collapses, this ark will... Then we burn with it, Histan answers. And Botta, bind it if you can. I try. Emperor, I try. I open my mind, reaching through fire and pain, and brush the surface of the ember. It's agony and tenderness all at once, an ocean of warmth that wants to welcome me home. Images flood my vision. Vulkan forging the ember by hand, tears evaporating before they could fall. The first human he tested it on, a dying soldier whose face turned peaceful as his soul burned clean. The Emperor watching, silent. And then the war, the heresy. The moment the warp reached out and whispered, I can make it love you back. I see how it learned, how it became a god of forgiveness, how mercy without restraint becomes annihilation. I scream through the link. It's feeding on intent. It wants to make everything painless. Would that be so terrible? It asks. A galaxy without pain, without need for endurance, without fear, without choice, Histan says, without life. He thrusts the spear into the sphere. The tip sinks halfway before stopping. The light flows around it like blood. The ember shrieks again, this time in words. Why did he make me, then abandon me? Histan grits his teeth, because even he knew that love without limit is horror. The spear flares white. The chamber convulses. For a second, the illusion of Vulkan returns, but broken now, flickering between pride and grief. He reaches out one last time. My sons, forgive me. Then the world tears open. I wake to screaming metal. Half the forge is gone, torn apart by the detonation. Rivers of molten iron pour through ruptured decks. The ember hangs shattered, its light dimming. Tendrils of plasma licking the ceiling like dying flames. Histan is still standing. Barely. Armor split. Spear embedded in. The ruin of the sphere. I crawl toward him. Forge father. He looks back, voice quiet. It's not dead. It's sleeping. The warp's still around it. Tushan limps over, helm gone, face raw from heat. Then we finish it. Histan shakes his head. No. We contain it. Vulkan made this. We end it wrong, and we'll unmake what little sanity remains in the eye. The ship shakes again. Explosions in the upper decks. The choir's song has become a shriek, receding as flames devour their halls. Karzul slams a palm to a console. I can trigger a containment implosion, seal the core, but someone has to hold the field long enough for it to stabilize. Histan meets my gaze. Botta. I understand. My flame. My burden. I nod. I can anchor it, but once it collapses, you'll be part of it, he finishes, and you'll keep it quiet. Tushan starts to protest, but I raise a hand. No. This is what I was made for. Histan steps close, resting a gauntleted hand on my shoulder. Then carry our father's mercy with care. The forge collapses inward, piece by piece. Karzul's systems hum, building toward ignition. The void beyond glows crimson. I kneel before the dying ember. Its light flickers weakly, like a heartbeat struggling to remember its rhythm. I touch it with both hands, opening my mind one last time. Sleep, I whisper, your work is done. It pulses once. Fire is mercy, then everything turns white. When the light fades, sound returns first. Not the roar of fire or the scream of tearing metal, just breathing, harsh, mechanical, ragged. My own. No. Someone else is alive. I open my eyes, or rather, my senses struggle to compensate for what's left of them. Half my helm is slagged, my left arm gone from the elbow down. The forge is gone. What remains is a canyon of molten wreckage, stretching into blackness where once was structure. The ember hangs above the void, cracked but pulsing faintly, its surface no longer perfect but fractured, each fissure glowing like veins of molten gold. It looks alive still, but quieter. Waiting. His Stan's voice cuts through the static, raw and low. Status. Alive, Tushan growls somewhere nearby. For now. Karzul doesn't answer. I see him across the ruin, half buried under twisted plating, mechadendrites twitching like dying snakes. Stan limps into view. His armour is a ruin of melted green and soot, his helm gone. The spear of Vulkan drags behind him, its haft bent, blade flickering. He looks at the ember as one might look at a wounded god. It sleeps, I manage. My voice sounds distant, filtered through damaged vox. But the warp is restless around it. If it wakes, it won't, Stan says. Not while you're here. I shake my head. You can't know that. He steps closer, kneels beside me. I know what you're about to do. I try to smile, though my lips feel like cracked glass. Then stop me. He doesn't. Instead, he removes his gauntlet. Beneath it, his flesh is blackened, but his hand trembles not from weakness, but from restraint. He sets it on my chest plate. You will not be forgotten, brother. I look past him to the ember. The cracks widen. Small threads of light drift upward, evaporating into the air. Souls, maybe. Dreams. I can hold it, I whisper. My mind's already half in the warp. I can anchor the containment field from inside. Tushan limps closer, dragging his Crozius. You'll die. Maybe, I say. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just become quiet. Stan's eyes close briefly. The Emperor watches. No, I reply softly. Our father does. Stan nods to Karzul. Prepare the field. The tech marine groans, struggling upright. His mechadendrites wrap around the ruined console beside him, feeding it power from his own reactor. Manual control only, he hisses. Sequence will breach before it stabilizes. Once started, no recall. Then start it, I say. He hesitates, optics flickering with machine prayers. Then, finally, may the forge remember you. The air ignites. Columns of golden light spear upward, surrounding the ember in a lattice of energy. The ground quakes. Plates buckle, molten rivers reverse flow, pulled upward into the sphere's gravity. The choir's remnants, those who still breathe, begin to scream. Their bodies crumble into cinders, drawn into the light like offerings. The psychic noise is unbearable. Every emotion the ember ever absorbed surges outward. Joy, sorrow, faith, despair. It's everything mankind has ever felt, all at once, and I am drowning in it. Stan shouts something. Can't hear him. Tushan grabs his arm, dragging him toward the exit tunnels as the chamber starts to collapse. Karzul transmits the final code, his voice a hymn of static. The containment field contracts. I rise, half crawling, half falling, toward the ember. The light reaches for me, not with hunger, but with recognition. You would stay? Yes, I answer aloud. To keep you honest. I am mercy. There is no deceit in me. Then learn restraint. I step into the light. For an instant, the world vanishes. I see nocturne skies again, green lightning arcing through the ash clouds. I see the forges of Hesiod burning with golden flame. I see my brothers, living and dead, standing shoulder to shoulder under that storm, watching me go. And then I'm everywhere. My body ceases. My thoughts scatter and reform. The ember's voice becomes my own. I feel its hunger, its grief, its endless need to forgive. I take it in my hands, figuratively, psychically, spiritually, and close my fingers around it like a child's fist around a candle flame. Rest, I whisper through every particle of light. It does. The glow fades to embers. The screaming stops. All that's left is warmth. Hestan's point of view, hours later. He stands in the observation deck of the strike cruiser Dawnflame, orbiting the dying forge arc. Through the viewing port, the derelict ship is a sun bleeding its last. Rings of ash orbit its corpse. At its core, something still glows faintly, contained. In Bota, Tushan murmurs beside him, he did it. Hestan's jaw tightens. He fulfilled the covenant of fire. Karzul's voice crackles from a nearby console. Containment stable, warp bleed minimal. Whatever he became, it holds. Hestan looks down at his burned hands. The spear of Vulkan rests against the wall beside him, its blade blackened, edges chipped. Signal Nocturne, he says. Tell them the Ember Mortalis has been found, and that it is no longer a weapon. Tushan turns, his voice cautious. What will you tell them of him? Hestan stares into the dying light. The truth. Later. Nocturne. The sky burns green as always. The people gather around the pyres of glass sand, the fires reflecting in their eyes. The Forge Father kneels before the grand shrine of Vulkan's anvil. In his hands, a sphere no larger than his helm. Black, inert, but warm. The last remnant of the ember, cooled and still. He places it upon the altar. Fire is mercy, he whispers, but mercy without strength is surrender. You taught us that, brother. Behind him, Tushan bows his head. We lost many. Hestan nods, and gained something older than victory. He stands, looks to the horizon, where the first hints of dawn stretch across Nocturne's stormed sky. The light flickers across the anvil, glinting off the cold metal of the sphere. For an instant, it pulses faintly, one small heartbeat. Then silence. Hestan smiles. Rest well in Bota. Epilogue. Centuries later. Deep within the Hall of Fire's memory, where relics older than the Imperium itself are kept in silence, a custodian servitor tends to the artifacts of Vulkan's legacy. It pauses before a sealed plinth. Inside, within a field of stasis, a small black sphere floats in suspension, its surface cracked, its glow dim. The servitor tilts its head, its ocular sensors flickering briefly. For a moment, only a moment, light pulses from within the sphere. A single whisper fills the chamber, faint as breath on cooling glass. Mercy endures. Then the light fades, and the forge sleeps once more. Nocturne dreams of fire. It always has. The storms roll endlessly above the black mountains, lightning cutting green scars through clouds the colour of molten glass. On nights like these, the Forge Fathers say the planet remembers. They say the storms are echoes of Vulkan's own sorrow, trapped in the air and repeating forever. I do not know if that's true. But when the sky rumbles, I sometimes hear a voice beneath it. A whisper. Soft. Patient. Kind. Be careful with the flame, my sons. Even love can burn. Hestan. Personal log minor 93 M41. 15 years after Operation Hephaestus. The vaults of Mount Deathfire are quiet. The Ember Mortalis lies within its containment cradle, sealed behind stasis wards and layered ceramite. To the untrained eye, it's a dead relic, a blackened sphere, inert, cold, meaningless. But to the Salamanders, it is scripture. Every year on the Day of Remembrance, the chapter gathers in the Grand Forge to hear the tale, not of victory, not of conquest, but of temperance. The chaplains recite Botta's name in solemn cadence, as if invoking a saint. Yet the Mechanicus refuses to sanctify him, and the ecclesiarchy forbids his story from imperial archives. It doesn't matter. The Salamanders have never needed permission to remember. He stands at the altar of the ember. His armour glows faintly in the forge light, a mixture of soot and sacred wax. He has aged, in spirit if not in form. The lines around his eyes are etched by firelight and grief. Tushan kneels beside him, silent, Crozius resting across his knees. They call it a weapon still, Tushan says softly. The Order Malleus sent a request to examine it again. Histan shakes his head. They wouldn't understand. They see only fire and think of burning. They've forgotten that flame gives warmth first. He runs his bare hand over the stasis field's invisible edge. For an instant, it flickers. Beneath the containment runes, something shifts, something faint, like a sigh. Tushan looks up. You still hear him, don't you? Histan doesn't answer immediately. Sometimes, he admits, in the forge's hum, in the heat of the anvil. A memory that isn't mine. Tushan grunts. Ghosts belong to the warp. Histan's gaze hardens. Not all of them. Outside, the forges roar. The salamanders work as they always have, hammers ringing, furnaces breathing. But in the deep halls, a new order of artificers has emerged. They call themselves the heirs of the ember. They study not how to make flame burn hotter, but how to make it feel, how to balance destruction with empathy, how to temper wrath with understanding. To the other chapters, it is heresy, weakness wrapped in poetry. To the salamanders, it is truth. They quote Botta's final words like a creed. Fire is mercy, if wielded with care. Nocturn's people whisper it when tending to the pyres of the dead. The phrase travels across stars, painted on the armour of brotherhoods long scattered. Even among the Mechanicus, some tech priests debate it in secret. The idea that a machine could feel mercy. That perhaps divinity lies not in perfection, but in the courage to choose restraint. 1 century later. The ember stirs. Deep in its vault, the sphere's surface shivers. Its cracks glow faintly, not bright, but enough to wake the stasis sensors. A servitor glides to the chamber, scanning, muttering binary prayers. It records no increase in radiation. No spike in psychic output. Only warmth. And then, within the machine's limited cognition, something strange occurs. The servitor dreams. It dreams of a man standing before a forge, his armour blackened, his eyes soft, his hands scarred by a flame that does not hurt. The man smiles. Keep watch, he says. The galaxy grows cold. There will come a day when mercy must burn again. The servitor's systems reboot. It erases the vision as corrupted data, but in the forger's heart, the ember glows 1 degree brighter. 10,000 years later, for future. Nocturne is gone. The stars that once knew its warmth are dying, swallowed by the long twilight of man's decline. What remains of the salamanders are stories, half myths traded by pilgrims wandering through ruins that were once worlds. Yet deep within the void, in a forgotten vault drifting amid debris, something stirs. A single ember, still burning. Within its fractured glow lies a whisper, ancient, human, and kind. Fire is mercy, if wielded with care. The ember drifts into the dark, its light flickering across the tombs of dead sons. And for a moment, just a moment, the galaxy seems less cold.